Welcome back to the Webby and O'Neill channel and another day in the Manchester United transfer news. And also, it's adding another name to the shortlist. But is this shortlist getting a lot of ifs, buts and maybes? Will we start to actually see any momentum and movement in the next few days and week at Manchester United? Get involved, have your say in the chat as usual, and we'll try and discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. Like I'm saying, there seems to be a lot of ifs, buts and maybes and a lot of the transfer news surrounding Manchester United at the moment.
Well, it's definitely another if from another journalist.
Ifs there.
Yeah, well, it's another if from another journalist. If Manchester United are going to sell Hojlund, then Watkins is a Manchester United player. That's basically what it's saying. For me, and I agree with a lot of United fans out there, bit of poor journalism there. There's no facts about Hojlund. We've not heard anything, and he's just putting his opinion in there. If that's what's happening, Watkins, if. I can't stop saying if. I've been saying if for weeks, and like you lot out there, you've been saying if this happens, if this happens. But to be honest with you, you know, when you look at Watkins and then you look at Kieron and you look at Mbeumo, you say to yourself, my God, if he did come Watkins, there's goals there. But is it a practical signing for a 29-year-old? I don't think so, from the point of view of the way Ineos want to do their business.
Why don't you think it's practical, though? From your point of view, forget Ineos, forget anyone inside Manchester United, is it a player you want to see in a United shirt?
I'd like to see him in a United shirt, but I'd like to have seen him a few years ago, to be honest with you. 18 months, 2 years ago. Not now. He's 29 years of age. I look going forward, what would he want? He'd want a 4-year contract. For me, 33-year-old, we've seen it all before. That's not what the rebuild is all about.
29.
Yeah, he's 29, but he'd be 33 by the time a 4-year contract come. That's what I'm saying. So there'd be another player, another aging player on the books, and we've seen it too many times. I look at now United progressing, going forward with young players. We've got plenty of young players in our squad, in the under-18s, in the under-21s. Let's start developing them and not have aging players on the books. We've seen the problems and it will continue. I just want a new era, a new start.
I'm looking at Ollie Watkins. I think he'd be perfect here at Man United. He's got the goals and assists. I think he'd come third, was it, to Isak and Hojlund last season. And over the last 2 to 3 years, yeah, you look at his age, but we do need experience also up that pitch. You know, you're looking at the likes of Hojlund, 22 years old. Is he ever going to be good enough in the future? It's only based on potential. You know, Xerxes there, he doesn't look like a goal scorer. To me, Watkins is a goal scorer. And, you know, you're talking about he'll be 33 years of age at the end of his contract. I mean, that's nothing, that. It's absolutely nothing. You look at Man United, where we finished last season. We finished 15th in the Premier League. I mean, we ain't shopping at Harrods in this summer transfer market. And to have a possibility of signing Ollie Watkins, a striker who's proven in the Premier League, I mean, I'd snatch your hand off if you'd have told me the last few weeks of the season, last season, how poor and dire it was, constantly questioning the attack. And if you'd have told me we'd start the season with the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo and Watkins up front, I'd have snapped your hand off and said you're on the magic sauce.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing that Watkins would improve this side. I'm just looking at it from the long term and the way United are going to restructure and move forward. For me, I think that's a no-no. I think he's on the bottom of this long list, and it's not a short list. You know, United are searching for a striker. They're not selling a striker. That's how I see it. I think Hojlund will stay. I look at Hojlund, and you have to say, we can all agree Hojlund has been poor, okay? There's no two ways about it. Hojlund has been poor. But with Cunha there and Mbeumo there, he will improve. So you don't need one striker, right? Bring in one striker and then sell the striker you've got. He's still young, Hojlund, and with other good players around him, he had poor service last year. We know he missed chances. We know he was on the floor. He wasn't good enough. But at the end of the day, one more year, give him a chance. That's how I see United are looking at it. I don't see United selling him, and there is no movement on it. I don't see who's going to buy him. They want to recoup some money on him. Possibly.
That could be the biggest alarm bell, though, what you're saying there. A young striker, 22 years of age, meant to have had all the potential in the world. One of the reasons why Man United bought him And every team out there needs a striker, and there's actually no real movement or interest in Rasmus Højlund. So that's just also an added extra into my book and my opinion on Rasmus Højlund, that even if he does stay at Manchester United, he will never be the main man at Manchester United. Maybe a squad player, but he'll never be that main man. And I think bringing in someone like Watkins with the experience, the pedigree, the CV of the Premier League, I mean, that does us really good, I think, for the next 2 to 3 years, where we won't have to worry about that position, and maybe look at some of the youngsters around the academy that they can actually develop in and around the first team as well, when you've got a striker of that age who then can maybe possibly take on the mantle in further years.
Then you look at Gyökeres, Bryan Mbeumo, goals. Would love that, wouldn't we? Hojlund. Then you've got Bryan and Mbeumo, goals. Wouldn't I love that this year? Ekitiké, who's 22 years of age, goals. Bring him in with Bryan and Mbeumo. These goals all over the place. I'm just looking at it from a practical point of view. Where will the money come from Højlund? He's had a poor season. There is no people out there looking for him. And I think United will give him one more year and see if he will improve. Ruben Amorim was brought in here to improve these players, okay? So he's got new players in there. Will Højlund improve? Time will only tell on that. And I think that's the way it's going to go. We don't want to sell Hojlund and leave us short in case there's 1 or 2 injuries. He will be in there fighting for his place, which is good, okay? And we want to see him improve, just like we want to see a lot of other players improve under Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who do support Hojlund, and rightly so. I mean, I do support him, whoever puts on the Manchester United shirt, but I've also got to be realistic with what I see with my own eyes, the eye test, week in, week out. And, you know, he had real confidence issues, what a lot of people who support him said last season. I mean, articles like this as well, if he does see them, you know, when he's on social media, etc., that's not going to do his confidence either any good. That, you know, someone who is reporting this, like Laurie Whitwell, who will have sources inside the club, I don't think it's something he's just made up. He has been told this story. I mean, that's not going to do him any good as well, Højlund. It's really not. If it was confidence issues last season, hearing stories about his future like this, that Manchester United do want to sell him, but it's up to you to sort out somewhere to go, sort of thing.
But that article does not say Manchester United want to sell him. That's a personal thought. He's given, like, if Manchester United want to sell him. That's why it's a poor article. Yes, it's true that there's an intermediary. Laurie Whitwell, I know him personally, known him since he was a young lad and that, so I don't feel so great pulling him on this article, because at the end of the day, he is using what he thinks. Well, that's not what a reporter should be doing. So if anyone is being criticised, then Laurie Whitwell will be criticised for suggesting that if Manchester United want to sell him, he shouldn't be doing that as a reporter, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, it's fine talking about Watkins, that there's an intermediary, and they're putting him on at the bottom of a long list of strikers, what they may go for. And I think they will only go for a striker, right? Because, look, United are shopping around for a striker, right? If they're able to sell players and raise money. That's how I see it. Or they'd have already pulled the trigger, I see. I think the money is the problem. And by the time any money comes in, if it comes in, then they'll know what it is to get Watkins, to get Gyökeres, to get Osimhen, to get Ekitiké. They will already know the details of how much it will cost. So based on the money what comes in, and the availability at the time, they'll be able to strike straight away if any of them targets are still left.
Yeah, no, you know, you do look around the actual report there from Laurie Whitwell, £60 million for Watkins. That is a lot of money. And I wouldn't expect Manchester United to go anywhere near a transfer fee like that. But I would say at least 35 or £40 million. I'd be more than happy with that. I think some people out there as well, just look at Ollie Watkins, because he's not that star name. He ain't got that sprinkle dust on his name like maybe some think of Gyökeres or Osimhen, etc. But I do think he's got the pedigree. And you talk about a transfer strategy from United, about the age group. I mean, the transfer strategy, the way I look at it as well, is for proven Premier League players. Got Cunha and Mbeumo and Watkins. They fit into this squad and they go from the get-go. They start producing straight away. They're not players who you're waiting on for the next 2 to 3 years to develop. And on that potential they were bought, they go in, they produce straight away. I mean, I wouldn't be happier with them 3 players in our squad going into a Premier League season.
Listen, I would be happy. There's no two ways about that. It's proven. It's as simple as that. But the building for the future, that's how I see it. And then Watkins on a 4-year contract, right, is not what I see the future, what they're trying to build here at the moment. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't want Watkins. I'd love Watkins here straight away. Goals, he would produce. There's no two ways about it. But I just don't see it. For me, a young striker coming in here, and at the end of the day, if Gyökeres does come, that's fine. If Ekitiké comes, that's fine, okay? But Watkins, proven striker, he'd hit the ground running. I'd love him to be here, but he'd want a 4-year contract, and I think that's what will be the holding block. And no way, right, do I believe that United would pay £60 million for Ollie Watkins. I just do not see that at all.
I mean, if United even did pay 60 million for Watkins, if he goes and scores 20 league goals next season plus, no one's actually thinking about the actual price tag that they bought him for. And that's just the way of life, isn't it, in the football world and football fans. And you look at last season, I think he got 16 league goals. Rasmus Højlund and Xerxes scored a combined 7 league goals between them.
Yeah, well, that there is absolutely disgraceful, to be honest with you. But again, it's all a big if.
It's a big if. Maybes and buts as well, or ifs, buts and maybes. But I do expect, though, a lot of these ifs, buts and maybes to be ironed out a little bit, though, when they return to training next Monday. Because you'd expect the players obviously returning, the agents will be swarming around there like wasps over Carrington. And there should be a lot of meetings held with people inside the club, like your Jason Wilcox, your Baradas, possibly, about players' futures and what they actually want to do with them, basically.
I think it's going to be a bloodbath.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's exactly what we need. We need a full clear out and a full assessment of these players. Players not mixing with other players who say, right, you're out, we're going to force you out, we don't care, just get rid. But I do believe it's going to be a bloodbath. But they're putting everything in line, and it is definitely a striker what they want, because they wouldn't be looking and asking questions about Watkins if a striker wasn't the player they were going for. So expect a striker to come in when, I don't know. And like I say, I go back to it. It's the money. When we sell, when we get the money, we'll be able to assess where we're all at. But what I'm expecting is names to come up, people to have gone for, put the money, put the bids in, but let's get these players out first. And I think that next week, that's where we'll see the bloodbath. And then I think United will just go bum and snatch them one. They've got it all there. They've got the long list, and it's a striker. That's the next target.
Yeah, and we just want to see Mbeumo done this week, don't we? Ready for that pre-season when they all return next week. And yeah, for me, I'm looking even back to last season's transfer window. Obviously, you get the news out there from Romano, the Here We Goes, and others a lot earlier. But officially, United didn't sign, was it Lenny Yoro and Xerxes, the first 2 signings, until mid-July. I mean, and then you're seeing the likes of De Ligt and Mazraoui later on in July, August as well. So Man United have got that habit still, even under the likes of Berardo and the team that are still in there, of doing business later on in July as well. So, you know, we need to be a little bit patient. Obviously, the journalists out there are using a lot of ifs, buts and maybes, but I do believe, and I'm genuine on it, that we will start to see some concrete news as of next week in the first few days of them returning to training.
Well, there was a bit more cash about last summer. There was a bit more cash.
Good point.
They were able to go for players. This year, definitely not a lot of cash about. And I think the first 2 signings is all about United. That's their budget. I have said they'll go for the 2. Any other signings is dependent on selling players. And that, to me, is as clear as daylight what's happening here at Manchester United. Any more players what are being brought in, we have to sell first.
Yeah, Connell J says there's a lot of pressure that comes with the striker role at United. I think experience is needed. We need some stability. And you do get the feeling, don't you, with United, that, you know, if we do go into next season with Rasmus Højlund up front, there'd be probably more pressure on Rasmus Højlund and him being talked about more than the likes of even Florian Wirtz, who's gone to Liverpool. Yeah,
well, you've got to have pressure. You're playing for Manchester United. You've got to score goals and that. But I go back to having Kuna and Mbeumo there. They will create space. They will help Hojlund. He will get more opportunities, more space, more opportunities, and he will improve with the better players around him. That's how I see it. He can't go backwards, okay? He will go forward with better players around him. You've seen it before with other teams, even with Manchester United, where players just aren't quite on it. And when you've got players around you, what improve, right, the team, the squad and everything, which these two signings will do, then I can only see Hojlund improving. It's a tough task for him to come and sort of step up from the performances he had last year. But I do believe United aren't looking to sell Rasmus Højlund. I just don't see it. I think he's got one more year at United to prove himself with better players around him. But that is my own opinion, okay?
Here's an opinion.
It's not an if. It's not an if, like the article says and many other articles. I'm telling you how I see it, how I see Ruben Amorim, okay? They're not going to recoup anywhere near the money based on the performances of Hojlund, what they paid for him. So I think he's got one more year where the manager has to improve the squad, the players, and Hojlund is one of them, okay? He could turn it around, but hey, my eye test, your eye test knows he had a poor season, and it's down to the manager now. Does he believe, okay, that he can improve Rasmus Højlund? And if he doesn't, then we should know within a week when the bloodbath starts.
I mean, if you give us £1 for every time we've said if on this video, up to now, we'd be millionaires. And, you know, if you're just talking about Hojlund there, I took myself back to last season. Was it the Brighton home game here, when he dropped Hojlund and Xerxes to the bench and he put Mainoo up front as a centre-forward? I think it was. If I'm wrong on that game, let me know in the chat. But I do remember that happening, and for me, that's the writing on the wall. That is the writing on the wall.
Yeah, but
that tells me that Ruben Amorim, in the time that he had from walking in the door, has made that impression. He's got that overall feeling of Hojlund that, you know, he's not my man.
Yeah, but the other way, you can turn it the other way. A lot of people, I remember that incident, okay? People were saying it was madness what Ruben Amorim was doing. That's not a coach. That's not the way to do it. So there's two ways to look at it. People criticise Ruben Amorim for that decision because it actually made Mainoo look foolish up there.
No, that's a good point. But I also look at Amorim, and he has said on many occasions about having more control up the pitch, you know, for sustained attacks. And like I've said previously, I think Xerxes gives you that more than what Hojlund does, but he's just not a goal scorer, Xerxes. It's as simple as that. And I just don't see Hojlund ever giving us that control further up the pitch. I mean, is that something that even at 22 years of age he's going to improve at? I mean, shouldn't that be really one of the basics as a striker who's been playing football since he was a kid at, you know, top levels?
Højlund and Xerxes, the main strikers at Man United, were poor last year. They do not look like the strikers we need to take us up the table and challenge at the moment. And they were both very, very poor. And there's nothing I can say in their defence, okay? All I'm hoping for is that the manager turns him round, because I don't believe that the money will be there. And if we do buy a striker, okay, you don't get rid of another striker who's possibly could improve under Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, and you just go into the season. Let's hope we start off to a flyer. I mean, the first game's against Arsenal, then away to Fulham, then I think it's Burnley at home, our first 3 games. But if it does go the way where we're not seeing any goals from the actual strikers, whether that's Hojlund or Xerxes, I can guarantee you that a lot of the fan base will be screaming, we should have got a striker in the summer. And if we have got opportunities to go and get one, like your Ollie Watkins, if he does actually want to come to United, you know, that's the big word, isn't it? You know, that's the big question. But if he does want to come to United, I mean, for me, it's a chance missed.
Yeah, but it's £60 million. It's a no-no. The people out there be screaming at that. Absolutely screaming at that.
If Man United had the money.
No, yeah. Don't say if again. Do not say if again. Anyone out there, don't say if again. Right? £60 million. That's a lot of money. Okay. If they've got it,
that for Hojlund.
Then if they've got it, pay it. Simple as. And I'm not bothered about what people cost and all that, right? But I do know a lot of people are screaming about the cost of it and a 4-year contract. For me, of course he'd come to United. But where will he go? I don't know why Aston Villa don't want him. I just don't understand that. For me, Ollie Watkins is perfect for Aston Villa. Every time I've seen him play, I think he's a real inspiration for Aston Villa and keeps the momentum going and everything. But to be replaced, because he was dropped, and Rashford was put in his place, how that works, I don't know. So maybe something's gone on, and why Ollie Watkins is now on the market for 60 million. So for me, I'd like to find that out.
No, it is a good point, that, to be fair, because Unai Emery actually do rate him as a manager. Some of yous out there might not do, but I always go back to something that I said a while ago, that as soon as Ineos walked through the door here at United, they should have been firm and straightforward and sacked Eric Ten Hag and brought Unai Emery in that December and brought Ollie Watkins with him. Would I still do that now? No, we've got the main man here in Ruben Amorim and we fully support him, but I'd definitely still bring in Ollie Watkins. But it is a good point with Watkins being dropped for Rashford. I do remember, was it the PSG game, what they had at home in the not Europa League, Champions League, and
dropped before that.
He was dropped, and Rashford that game done nothing in the first half. I think the second half he had a good 25-30 minutes.
No, but
there's definitely something maybe wrong there in the background. Maybe Villa fans out there can tell us about.
Well, the question is, why would you drop your striker, your main man, your inspiration, the man who's taking you up there? Aston Villa got in the Champions League because of people like Ollie Watkins, okay? As far as I was concerned, he was doing nothing. So why would you drop him? Why would you drop your goal scorer and put someone in who's there on loan, who's poor, with a poor attitude and everything? So for me, there's something behind the scenes. I don't know what it is.
I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Take yourself there, try and put yourselves in Ollie Watkins' shoes. If you're dropped for a game, a huge, huge game in Villa's history against PSG, and you're dropped for Marcus Rashford, who walks around the pitch, are you going to be pissed off? Would you want to stay at the football club underneath that manager, where you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to be in and out here, Rashford's ahead of me?
So would he do that at Manchester United?
Yeah, but for Marcus Rashford, anyone who gets dropped for Marcus Rashford, come on, this is Marcus Rashford we're talking about. How many times have we seen him over the last 2 years walking and sulking around the pitch? I mean, it's not as though he'd done that much extra at Aston Villa in my eyes when I've seen him. And if you're being dropped from him, he's got the pedigree, Watkins, 16 goals last season, being dropped for Rashford.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't be happy. I'd be knocking on the manager's door. I'd be fuming.
Yeah, but 1 minute you're praising the manager, Unai Emery, great manager, bring him here at United, and then you sort of criticising, and people out there are doing the same, criticising Unai Emery for dropping him.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the right decision. I'm not saying then that makes him a bad manager. All managers, the top managers, make mistakes and bad decisions. From my point of view, that is a bad decision. Doesn't make him a crap manager.
Well, what I can say now is, right, Ollie Watkins ain't coming to Manchester United. He's not coming to Manchester United. Yeah. He's at the bottom of a long list, and for £60 million, I just don't see it. He's certainly not coming in to replace Hojlund, and we sell Hojlund because we don't need one striker, we need two. And as we all know, and you look at the past, successful sides have 2, 3, even 4 strikers.
I mean, I did see a comment yesterday, someone saying they'd rather bring in Calvert-Lewin, who's obviously a free agent, on a 2-year deal than Ollie Watkins at 60 million on a 4-year contract. I mean, if you want to answer that comment, what was left on the channel yesterday, please do. But I noticed something on social media yesterday, and it was the Brentford sporting director talking about Mbeumo, and he's basically saying that if a deal doesn't get agreed for Mbeumo, he'd be happy to stay at Brentford this summer. What's your thoughts on that?
He's just PRing. He's just saying what he has to say. He knows there's a deal going to get agreed. Listen, it's the 1st of July. It's a new season, financial season. So I think things will move along now. I expect him to move along. Is it a couple of quid? Is it just the accountants trying to work out how the pay structure over to Brentford goes? Brentford not happy with that? I'm not too sure. But no, he's talking about Mbeumo being happy to stay. Listen, once his head's turned, that's it. He's coming to Manchester United. There is no two ways about it. Dismiss Tottenham. Out of hand, that's gone. The press tried to push that and all that. He's coming to Manchester United. His head's turned, he's adamant, and that's what he's having. But he's keeping very quiet, and that's what I like.
The thing is, we've always been consistent, even the last few weeks of last season, basically saying how much he needs backing Ruben Amorim in this transfer market. I mean, if we do get, obviously we've got Cunha in, we get Mbeumo as well, and we get just one more player in, what is kind of expected amongst a lot of fans who comment on our channel in this transfer market. I mean, is that him being back then, Ruben Amorim?
Well, it's not being back the way he'd probably want, but circumstances are what they are. We said 2 transfers, sell a few players, then a third one will come in. And I can't see anything different, but I think Ruben Amorim sees it that way as well. So there's a build-up here, few players in. Look at the summer next year, and let's see where we are. Obviously, United want to get in the Champions League and everything. That will help next summer. But they've got to get the money in, and they've got to get rid of the deadwood. And like I say, come the 7th of July, next Monday onwards, then we will see a bloodbath. And then, well, let's hope we see a bloodbath. That's how I see it. That's what's needed. And then we can move on. Get rid of the deadwood, and then have players who really want to play and compete for Man United.
Yeah, do you see much changing though under Ruben Amorim going into next season with the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo up there, and then possibly another signing, whether that's a striker, a midfielder, or a goalkeeper?
Do it.
You know, compared to last season, because I think it's, I've mentioned it, I think yesterday, day before, I still think it's a huge task for Ruben Amorim to change the mentality around of this group of players from a losing one in the Premier League to also then getting it to a standard of wanting to win every game.
Well, it's a nightmare.
Or winning every game, shall I say.
It's a nightmare for him because it's a battle. It's a battle to try and change the attitude of players, people inside the club and everything. For me, it's very difficult. Yes, there'll be carnage, there'll be chaos. But I see it's very difficult, and he's not going to have a smooth ride, especially if the people like, say, for instance, Luke Shaw is still here, Casemiro's still here. He will always be a problem, Casemiro. We've seen his legs go. He'll have a few moments. Let's not get it too down on him. His time's up, though. Luke Shaw's time's up. And these other players there, you've got Malacia coming back. Will he go? There's other players there. And I think there's still quite a few pieces to fit in this jigsaw. And it's not a full set.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that Europa League final and wondering what sort of impact of losing that will be. Forget the financial not being in Europe, but the impact on the mentality of that squad. I mean, I take myself back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer losing the Europa League final against Villarreal. I mean, and the following season didn't start off great, did it? And we know what happened there. And I'm just hoping history doesn't repeat itself like that. And, you know, fingers crossed, you know, Cunha and Mbeumo, fingers crossed he comes in, and another player as well. Make an impact and hit the ground running just to try and take this team forward and give those fans as well, most importantly, some optimism.
Well, I look at it this way. Carrington now has been redeveloped. It's now for the first team players. The coaches and everything are all Ruben Amorim's. Everyone who was hanging about on the sidelines from the previous regime have now been moved away, okay? So everything's geared up, and I think losing that final, I think it's gone. You know, I don't even think about it now. I don't even worry about it. We've seen what happened. That's it. It's gone. We're moving on. And I think everything around Carrington now is all geared for this first team with Ruben Amorim and his people, his coaches and everything. And there's no influence from any of the old guard. We've just seen Fletcher get moved out of there. He was hanging around like other people.
Under 18s.
You used to see him all hanging around because they had no job. Now, Ruben Amorim and his team can get on with it. And I think anything from last year, it's gone out the window. This is moving on under Ruben Amorim.
Alex King says, best in class, my arse. I mean, are we seeing some positives, though? From the people in the background, your Brady, your Wilcox, you know, the lads doing the transfer business. Is it Hargreaves as well who's involved with it? Do you know, are you positive right now as it stands? You know, with Cunha in and Mbeumo likely, and the rest of this transfer window will come out at the end of it and think, do you know what? Considering we were 15th last season, that's a great transfer window. Listen,
I don't look at it like that. I look at it this way. It's a good transfer window with no money. It's as simple as that. We can only do what we can do with the amount of money and how we're able to spend it. And we've got 2 proven goal scorers in the Premier League. So for me, that's excellent. Okay. Yes, I'd like more. Everyone else would like more. But still people out there not accepting we haven't got the money. And I don't understand how people, with all the news and everything what comes out there, even when the manager's telling you he'll only be able to make certain amount of improvements because there's only a small budget. It's not last year's budget. It's not the year before's budget, right? We're on our knees. I've been saying it. Do you know what I mean? Right? The priority, get rid of the virus inside the club. That'll take a long time. And then we've got to restock with some money. And that's by getting rid of the players. So for me, it's an excellent transfer window once Mbeumo comes in with the amount of money, knowing what we've got. I'm just baffled how people cannot see that, where their thinking is. And I just don't understand how we can be linked with all these so-called players everywhere. I mean, since the end of January, we must have been linked with about 100 players. In the last fortnight, about 15 players, day after day, day after day. It's not acceptable, right? There's no money. People have to realise that and then sort of like take out the bull, as they say, by reporters. And having the bull, we need more than one striker, and we can't get rid of Hojlund at the moment because they're not in a position to get rid of him. They are not in a position to recoup any money from him, so they can just keep him for another year, hopefully work on him and improving him. And having Kuna and Mbeumo there, I go back to it, they will make him improve. He will get the space and he will get more opportunities because these are two dangerous goal scorers, what's coming into this team.
Also got to look at it as well. Look, a manager, head coach, whatever you want to call him, get paid to get results, but also improve the current squad. And surely we've got enough with the likes of Ahmad, Lenny Yoro. I mean, De Ligt's had his first season. I like De Ligt. I think he's a future captain here at United. Agate, Dorgu as well, who come in January. Surely we have to see improvements from them as well next season. But that's also up to the manager to get the best out of them sort of players.
Everyone has to improve.
Of course, but when we discuss the likes of, let's say, Casemiro, we're never going to see an improvement really from Casemiro. Bruno Fernandes, you know what you get from Bruno Fernandes on his day, and he's vital to this actual squad currently. And other players out there like Dalot, I'm not a big fan of Dalot. I've got to be honest with you. I've given up on Dalot ever since we got beat 3-0 here against Tottenham Hotspur. He let Brennan Johnson just run past him, put his hand up, and he just give up. He's just a high five and fist bump merchant in my eyes. And yeah, for me, players like that, they do need replacing at some point. I just don't think they'll be replaced in this summer transfer window.
You just never know who can be replaced. Everyone has got a price here at Manchester United. Everybody. So bring in the youngsters. That's what people were asking for last year. Yes, there'll be an additional youngsters added to the squad. There's no two ways about it. He will work with a smaller squad. You just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Dalot didn't have a great year. Year before was good. So he needs to stand up this year. And Mazraoui, he's got to improve. I didn't think he had a great second half of the season. And these other players, but everyone has to improve. If you don't improve, you're out and you will be replaced. Yeah. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, my only opinion on Dalot there the season before, you know, he had a good season. It's probably because he was probably the only one that was fit alongside Bruno Fernandes consistently, because we had a lot of injuries that season. But Mazraoui as well, I mean, we bought him for, was it 12.5 million, 14 million pound? Good bit of business. He's always giving you the 7 out of 10. But in that wing-back role for me, I just don't think he does enough in the attack in terms of creating attacks or, you know, creating opportunities as well, what I'd like to see from a wing-back. So I think that's why I'd like to see Ahmad at wing-back over Dalot and Mazraoui. I'm more than comfortable to see Mazraoui in that back three on the right-hand side, though. Gives you everything.
I'm going to agree with a lot of people over time what made the comments on Dorgu. I need to see a massive improvement from that player. Okay, massive improvement as an attacker, crossing the ball, getting involved, back and forth. I don't listen. I've seen him running back. I am not too impressed with him. So there's a lot of people out there who are saying Dorgu is either player. And when you talk about money, yeah, 15 million for Mazraoui. Well, Dorgu was only 20 million. So what does that make him based on the money? Well, look, True. My eye test tells me he's got a lot of improving to do, Dorgu. But he will improve. There's no two ways about it once this team settles and it gels and Ruben Amorim's got them over the summer, okay? But they all have to improve. So Dorgu's not getting away with it. My eye test told me, I was thinking, he ain't the player everyone's just talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. We talk about the youngsters in the squad, like your Ahmad, your Lenny Yoro, your Dorgus, etc. You can't have too many of them, and that's why I'd like to see someone like a Watkins who's got the experience, who would hit the ground running straight away, instead of having to wait on all these youngsters to fulfil potential. And that's another if they do fulfil potential.
Well, I refuse to say this again, and I'm going to have to say it again because of what he's just said, right?
No.
Have some patience.
I've got patience. I'm just saying to you. You've got to have experience, though, in a team.
No one's denying that.
And then bring your younger ones in based on the potential and throw them in for a game, 2 games, then take them out for 3 games.
Okay.
We're not currently in that position. I get that. But you look over the years here at United, we've been relying on the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, a young kid in midfield to boss a midfield against top teams. Rasmus Højlund, Garnacho. That's what Man United's failings have been, that we've not had the experience in there. So these younger players have had time to adapt and adjust and get bits of game time here and there. Instead, they've been thrown in as the main lads at Man United and to win games.
I'll say this. Then maybe keeping Shaw and Casemiro, because of their experience, might help these younger players come on. What do you think about that then?
No, that's a different idea.
But their experience, and if they're fit enough. Yeah, Watkins is a striker. We've gone on about him. We're on about the team.
Yeah.
Okay? There's experience in Shaw and Casemiro. And are United going to keep them for their experience? Hey, let's wait and see.
Just by the way, I'm not saying Casemiro or Luke Shaw are a benefit to this Manchester United team or youngsters, by the way. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you all for joining us in the chat today. I did notice a couple of little comments between each other, having a bit of an argument before. Hopefully I'm wrong, but if you are having a little bit of a go at each other, just be calm, be patient. We're all Manchester United fans, so let's just get on it. All it is a difference of an opinion. That's all it is. It's not too deep. So yeah, just smash a like on today's video, help support the channel, and also get that notification on, because we will be back with another live tomorrow. So come and join us, have a Manchester United chat, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.